Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to use ChatGPT to generate JavaScript inside of Storyline. Now, I am currently working on my Storyline and JavaScript course. You can check out more if you head on over to Learning Dojo Ninja and click on Storyline and JavaScript. This will take you to all the information about JavaScript and Storyline that I'm working on, and I cover everything from A to Z on how to get started, what JavaScript is, the basics, and so forth. But really the section that I'm currently working on, I'm currently editing, is some advanced JavaScript using AI code. AI is everywhere right now. I've talked a lot about AI, how to use AI inside of Storyline, how to use AI inside of Rise. I've also talked about how to use AI to generate XAPI code and put that inside of Storyline. All those videos you can check out on my YouTube and my playlist of Storyline and JavaScript. Specifically though, the ones that I'm talking about in this section are how to use ChatGPT to generate some of the JavaScript. Now, before I even get to this section, we talk a lot about the basics of JavaScript. We dive into what a variable is, what conditionals are. We talk about arrays and other things like that. Because I still, even though AI will generate a lot of the code for you, I still believe that you need to be aware or be knowledgeable enough about the components in order to ask the right things, in order to say, I want it to be able to do this. I then want it to be able to do that. And I want it to be able to push update to a Storyline variable. So those are things that AI is just not, it's like waiting for you to give it some direction. It's not going to just generate it on its own. And there are some AI stuff that will do that, like operators and so forth. But this is basically waiting for you to give it specific instructions. And if you're not giving it the right instructions, you're not going to get the right outputs. I've mentioned this several times. The right inputs are going to generate the right outputs. So that's why it's still good to have a base knowledge. You don't even need to memorize everything, but it's good to be aware of the different things that you can do inside of JavaScript. So with that in mind, let's just break out a little bit of an example that I talked about in the course. And I'm going to not dive as deep into it like I would in the course, but I want to do enough where you can see how I would use ChatGPT to generate JavaScript and then put it inside of Storyline. So I'm going to do a basic example of creating a timer and a countdown. So let's walk through both of them. Now I'm going to go ahead and create two variables. The first variable is going to be my timer, and this is going to be a number. And the reason why it's going to be a number is because we're going to increase it by 1 on each second, and we're going to decrease the countdown by 1 each second as well. So the timer is going to be a number, and initially it's going to start out at 0. Then we're going to have our countdown. So I'm going to go ahead and say countdown, and then I'm going to start it out by 30. So it's going to start out at 30. A couple of years ago, created 2 YouTube videos on how to create a timer and a countdown. But this is before AI, so I did not actually use AI to generate any of the code. I basically just used normal JavaScript to be able to generate that code. So I'm doing the same thing here. So you may want to check out those videos if you want to dive a little bit deeper into what that code is. But I'm going to just generate ChatGPT and I'm going to have it update these specific variables. So we have our 2 variables to begin with. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now the first one is going to be a timer. So let's go ahead and just set this up, and we're going to start timer, and I'm going to center this. So I'm just going to center it right here, and we're going to insert our timer. So I'm going to insert a text box. And you can either type it out with percentages, or you can actually go into insert, and then you can go down to reference here, and then you can just select timer right there and click OK. Now it's going to give me the default value, which is going to be 0. When I tried to add the timer, Storyline actually crashed on me for some reason. So let's go ahead and just insert our timer here. And we need to create the variables again. So I'm going to walk through, let's just do timer. And then I'm going to go ahead and just establish this as a number. And then we're going to do count down. And we're going to establish this as a number with the default number. And the default value for this, because it's going to be counting down, is going to be 30. There we go. Let's try this again. So I'm going to click on insert. We're going to go ahead and click on text box and then go to insert. Then let's go to reference here, grab our timer and click OK. Now let's make this really large. So I'm going to go ahead and expand out the text box, because if you have something that's decreasing and increasing and it's adjusting, you want to make sure that there's enough room within the text box in order for it to increase the number and decrease the number. So let's make this extremely large by going into here. And so let's up it to 96. And let's go ahead and bold it and then center the text right there. I'm going to center the text on the screen as well. And there we go. So we have our timer that is going to start independently of the timeline. So let's go ahead and just add on an execute JavaScript. And you'll notice that it's doing this with the text box because that's what I had selected when I added the trigger. So let's select the button and let's go ahead and select this drop-down box to be execute JavaScript. And it automatically has when the button is clicked, which is good. So now this is where we need to put our JavaScript. So at this point, I want to go into ChatGPT and I want to have it generate some JavaScript. I don't think you need to anymore prompt the right, construct the right prompt and have it very specific or anything like that. So in a lot of ways, it's just natural language where you're like, do this, no, do that, no, do this. And it's an evolution. So if it doesn't give you the exact thing back right away, you can tell it to adjust. And that's totally fine here. So let's go into ChatGPT. And I do want to tell it that I'm working inside of Storyline. I have a timer variable inside of Storyline. And let's just make sure we say articulate Storyline. And I want it to increase by 1 every second. So I didn't spend a lot of time to prompt it. And basically just, a simple prompt here. Defining the keywords of saying it needs to be in Storyline. And I also need to know the components enough to be able to say, I want to be able to push it back to Storyline. Because notice right here is it's telling me the specific instructions. Okay, create a number variable called timer. We already did that. But in this case, it's saying uppercase T. We actually gave it a lowercase t. So this is where you still need to identify, and you may even want to specify, I already named it this or something in the future. But you can see right here, add a player, or you can see right here, add a timer. And this is the code that it's giving me. I can just copy that code. Let's come in here and just paste that code. There's a couple things, if you haven't checked out my video from last week, there's a couple of things that we can do to simplify this code a little bit more that ChatGPT doesn't seem to have knowledge of yet. So we need to probably train ChatGPT that from now on, you can actually just do this. And the first thing is we don't actually need to reference the player in this way anymore. When we're getting variables and setting variables right here, we don't need to actually talk to the player. We basically just come in here and we just say get var. So lowercase g, uppercase V. That's all we need to do. And the reason why we're getting the variable is because we're going to increase it and we want to get what the current value is every time this runs and then add to it. Otherwise, we could, if we are not getting the current value, it could think that it's just 0 and it will just it'll just say 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, and so forth. So we're getting the current value, and then we are setting that variable back to Storyline, so Storyline knows about it. But just like get var, all I have to do is lowercase s there. This is why knowing some JavaScript does help, so you can adjust it and simplify the code. One other thing that for some reason ChatGPT is giving me is it's telling me to say var instead of let. If you go through my Storyline and JavaScript course, I'll talk to you about why using let is better than using var and for security reasons as well. But let's go ahead and just change that to let here. So let current time equal get var. So we'll get that. And then we will set the var. And we are going to set the timer. This needs to match the exact words that we created our variable here. So this is where we have set timer. So it's going to get the current time, and then it's going to add it by 1. Then what we do, and that's basically just a function. That is a set of code that is designed to run whenever we call it. This is where we actually start the timer. And this is where we set interval. And basically we say whatever the interval is, it could be every second, could be every 5 seconds or so forth, we're going to run this function. So set interval means and here's how many seconds. It's basically milliseconds. And so 1000 equals 1 second. If I wanted every 5 seconds, I could actually type in 5,000, and then it will do every 5 seconds instead of every 1 second. But I want this to be every second, so I'm just going to leave it at 1,000 there. It's going to update that function and add 1. That's it. So you set the function, what needs to happen in every interval. You start the interval, and at some point, we actually need to stop the interval. So I should have told ChatGPT to say, once it gets to 30, go ahead and stop it. Because if you don't, what's going to happen is it's going to continue to run. Now, instead of going back to the old code, because I've already made some changes here, I'm going to go ahead and copy this and come back into ChatGPT and say, hey, I made some changes for Storyline and JavaScript. Start with this and stop the interval. So using the right keywords can help sometimes, especially when you're trying to generate very specific code. So stop the interval when the timer reaches 30 seconds. So let's go ahead. Oh, here, I forgot to paste in the code. Let me actually stop this. So you can hit stop right here. And I can always come back into this original one here and I can paste it. So let me go back in and copy that code and I can paste in the code right there. So let's go ahead and just hit enter here and then just hit start that over again. Even though I pasted in the same code, the updated code, it's still giving me this kind of old stuff. So that's the thing with ChatGPT. Sometimes it's going to ignore some of the instructions. Sometimes you may have to tell it specifically, don't use that anymore. But at least if you know how to work with the code from there. So let's go ahead and copy this. Let's go back into here and let's just make the changes ourselves. So I'll get rid of the player update. And now we're going to still get the timer. So we'll still get var, make sure that this is a lowercase. So lowercase t. We don't need to have these comments at the end of it. It's just telling you what it's doing on each line of code. And I'm just going to get rid of that just so it's more simple here. Then we're going to set the var right there. So we simplified this get var. We simplified the set var. And then it placed it inside of an if statement. So this is a conditional saying if it's less than 30, then basically add 1 to it. But if it's not less than 30, it's going to stop the interval, or what's going to be called clear interval. What interval are we stopping? Well, that is this time interval right here. So this was now placed inside of a variable when it's set, and now we are just basically stopping it right there. So a little bit more code than what we saw before, but now we have this condition of as soon as it reaches 30 seconds, it's going to stop. So let's go ahead and click OK, and let's click OK here, and we can preview this right inside of Storyline. So independent of the timeline, we're able to start that timer. Then we're able to check things based on the timer. So this is where I can then show a layer as soon as it gets to 15 seconds, or I can show a layer as soon as it gets to 30 seconds, which we'll talk about that next year, but that is all done inside of Storyline. Because we're pushing the timer variable back into Storyline, it's a simple show layer at 30 seconds inside of Storyline, so it becomes really easy that way. All right, so I'm gonna click on Start Timer, and we're not getting this for some reason. Let's check all of our variables here. Oh, this is still an uppercase. This needs to be a lowercase. Let me just make sure that that is okay. I think we're good now. Okay, so let's hit Start Timer. There's 1, 2, 3, and so forth. So we know that's working, but let's add a layer. And this is gonna be 15 seconds. And we're just gonna add some simple text just to keep it pretty basic right now. But we will add some simple text here. So I'm gonna go in here and say, time is almost up. Let's make sure we have enough room for that. That's really small. And we will have that here. Now I want this layer to show up for only 3 seconds. So what I can do is have it show for 3 seconds. And then at the end of the timeline, so when the timeline reaches, we'll go to timeline events. Oops, let me select timeline events. And when timeline ends, we're going to hide this layer. That's a way for you to be able to show something, put it on a layer, show it for a couple of seconds. At the end of the timeline of that layer, go ahead and hide it. So this message will pop up for 3 seconds and then go away. All right, so now let's go ahead and set up our 30 seconds. Now this one we don't want to go away because it's at the end of the timeline. So we're going to go ahead, and I misspelled seconds there, but we're going to go ahead and just add some text. And this one is going to be times up. So those layers are in place, but now we need to add the triggers. When the variable changes, basically is when we're listening, we're going to go ahead and say when variable changes. And what variable are we listening for? Well, that's the timer. We're going to show the layer at, and this one is going to be 15 seconds first of all. And we want to do this when it is actually 15 seconds. So when timer is equal to, and we'll just say equal to for now, when it's equal to 15, we're going to go ahead and show that layer. Now I could just copy that and paste it. And then we're going to change this to show 30 seconds. And this is going to happen when the timer is 30 seconds there. So this is all set. Once you have and you're pushing that information back to Storyline, you can add triggers to listen for the timer, to listen for different things about the timer. This is where you can start to create different game elements. If you have a timer, trigger different things to create urgency and to basically push the learner to go quicker or something like that. Obviously you don't want to pressure them too much, or there's some fun to doing it within a certain timer. Let's go ahead and start the timer. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video so we don't have to just sit here and wait. And I will start it again a couple seconds before 15. All right, so here is about to hit 15 seconds. There's 15 seconds. It's going to show up for 3 seconds and then go away. And let's go ahead and pause this again or skip to close to 30 seconds. All right, it's almost 30 seconds, so it's going to show 30 seconds, and it's going to show the time's up, and it's going to stop the timer. So we're able to add different elements based on a timer. You can allow the learner to start the timer at a certain point, and then you can trigger different layers based on that timer, completely independent of the timeline, because you would have to pause the timeline, you'd have to pause the timeline at the very beginning, and then have to play the timeline. So this is just kind of creating its own timer. Let's go ahead and do the same thing with a countdown. And really what we could do is just copy this page or duplicate it. So I'm just going to go duplicate page. And this one is going to be our countdown. So instead of timer, let's go ahead and click on insert. And let's go into our reference and let's do countdown. Now I'm going to click OK here. So instead of start timer, we're going to go ahead and do start countdown. And instead of it being 15 seconds and 30 seconds, let's change the labels here to be 0. So it's going to be 0 seconds. Let me go back in here and just change the text here. So that will be 0 seconds. And let's still keep it at 15 seconds. That is fine as well. Now I'll come in here and say, okay, this is when it's going to be 0, or show it when it's going to be 0 seconds. And this is still fine because it's halfway. All right, so now we need to update our JavaScript. So let's go back into ChatGPT and let's say, now let's start at 30 seconds and count down to 0 seconds and stop the timer. This will be using and I'll put it in quotes, countdown variable inside of Storyline instead of timer. Give me the updated JavaScript code to accomplish this. All right, so now it's going to give us our updated code. We can still get rid of some things. So I'm going to go ahead and hit copy, and I'm going to get rid of that. Let's go ahead and just take out the player. We don't need to reference that like we've learned about. You can keep it in there, but it's just extra code. So I like to clean it up a little bit. So I'm going to get rid of the comments too. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that comment. Let's change this to get var, so lowercase g. And we will change this to lowercase s and just simplify that. Oh, I said fet var instead of get var. There we go. So it's going to get the countdown. And because I put it in quotes, I very specifically told it, this is the name of the variable. So I don't have to go change that. So if you're in your prompts, be a little bit more specific about what you're asking, and anything that you want to get the exact name, you can put it inside of quotes there. So it's going to get the countdown every single time. And then it's saying, if it's greater than 0, then go ahead and set the var and minus it. So take the current time and minus 1. And then it's going to start the interval, and it's going to start it at every second here. Pretty much the same code, but instead it's minusing instead of adding. So let's go ahead and check this out now. So I'll go ahead and preview this, and I could set that variable to 50 seconds. I could set it to 40 seconds. It doesn't matter. It'll start, whatever that initial number is, because we're getting the value initially and then starting from there. So let's go ahead and click on Start Countdown. So you can see it's starting our countdown. So I'll go ahead and skip the video until 15 seconds. All right, so it's almost at 15 seconds. Let's go ahead and see what happens here. We're not getting that layer to run. So we do have a problem here. So we can see that we forgot to change it from timer to countdown. Let's go ahead and change this. We're checking for countdown and not for timer. All right, so let's go ahead and try this again. So we'll click on Start Countdown, and this will start our countdown. I'll go ahead and skip until the 15 seconds. All right, so it is almost at 15 seconds. Let's see if our layer pops up. and it's still not showing it. So let's go ahead and see. Oh, we changed it here, countdown. We did not change it here. So make sure you change it in both spots when the countdown changes and if the countdown is that amount. So we have to change it in both spots. All right, so now let's see if this is going to work. I will start the countdown and then I will skip to the 15-second mark. Okay, it's about to hit 15 seconds, so let's see if the layer shows. There's our layer. It's going to show up for 3 seconds, go away. And so let's go ahead and skip to the end here. All right, so it's about to show 0, and it should show our time is up. So the point of this is the fact that we can, if we know the right components, we know what we're asking it for, we can for sure use ChatGPT. But it still helps to understand the basics. It helps to understand what's going on. Because then if I run into some trouble, let me pull this back up. If you understand, okay, this is a conditional, this is a variable, this is an interval, because now we can adjust it. Even though ChatGPT gave us the initial code, let's say we only want this to happen every 5 seconds. So I can change the interval, knowing that this is now milliseconds, I can change the interval to something like 5 seconds. Now by doing that, it's going to decrease by 1 every 5 seconds. So let's go ahead and preview this. But that's what I'm talking about. Knowing the components, knowing the basics is going to give you an edge to be able to generate better code. And so it's still important to understand that, not to memorize it. I think memorization is a thing of the past as far as code goes, but you still have to understand it enough to be able to take it or to direct it or to say, I want this, I want that, and everything. So that is, I think that is the key, is understanding the basics, but not specifically memorizing the syntax or anything. I know I'm probably going to get people saying, no, you still have to memorize it and stuff. But that is honestly the thing in elementary school, and this will date me. I was told all the time in math that you're never going to have a calculator. So you still have to memorize how to do everything. And now we have calculators on our watches, which back in the 80s, we had calculators on our watches too. But now we have calculators everywhere, basically. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click on Start Countdown. So you can see that every 5 seconds, it's decreasing. Now it's actually decreasing twice sometimes, I've noticed. And I think that is because, now I've noticed that it's decreasing every 5 seconds. And so we may want to actually just ensure that this only runs one time. You could do that by adding a variable to say only run one time, because sometimes with the intervals and even with like videos, it like happens quickly. And so it could trigger more than once, but I think 1,000 is perfect enough. So let's go ahead and just keep it there. All right, so hopefully this has been helpful for you, that you can see that you can use ChatGPT to be able to generate some of the JavaScript code that you can put inside of Storyline. You can always check out some of my previous videos. I have several videos on Storyline and JavaScript, but you can use ChatGPT to expand, take what I have initially out of the box and say, now I want it to do this. Here's the initial code. Now I want it to do that. So it is a great resource to be able to go beyond that. If you do want to understand the basics, I highly recommend you check out my website at learningdojo.ninja. Go to my Storyline and JavaScript course where we cover the basics, but we also dive in more of how to use ChatGPT to create something like a weather API or how to detect a user's device. Different things like that. My goal with this channel is to help you become the best learning developer that you can be, to really help you go beyond what's out of the box inside of Storyline, and to push the tools and be able to create custom animations and different effects inside of Storyline. That is really the reason why I create these videos for you. So if you like these videos, head on over to my YouTube channel, click the like button and subscribe to my channel, as well as hit the bell notification so you get notified of all future videos as they come out. That really helps my channel, allows me to reach more students as well. And if you want to check out more blog posts, you can head on over to my website covering various things throughout the last 4 years that I've been teaching about, and Storyline and JavaScript and Camtasia, XAPI, more AI related subjects as well. All of these you can check out just by using these filters or searching up on the top. That's all I have for today, so thanks everyone, and I'll see you next time.